This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with vocalist SCHUYLAR CROOM of the hard rock band He Is Legend. If I knew absolutely nothing about He Is Legend, how would you describe the band's music to me?
Loud. Yeah, loud rock and roll. That's the running joke we've had for quite a while. So
I think a lot of places put you kind of in the metalcore category, but I don't really hear that.
These subgenres are always a strange thing, you know. I've always said rock and roll, heavy metal, but I don't really delve into anything different than that, other than, you know, the classic token this or that. I don't know. I like rock and roll. Sounds a little better to me than any of the other screamo, metalcore, whatever, death metal. Older person would probably call it death metal regardless, you know, right?
Nah, you got too much melody for that.
Yeah. I feel good about it.
And you should feel good about your latest album, Endless Hallway. It came out on November 11th. No, actually, this is the day before that. It comes out on November 11th. Spinefarm Records. You guys had a really good release with White Bat. You got all this praise for it. Was there any pressure going into this album to be like, now we got to try to equal or top this thing?
Not necessarily, because, you know, the world ended for 2 years. So the pressure wasn't as I don't know, palpable as it normally would be. We just didn't really know what we were going to do with it. We had no idea where this was going to go, what was going to be, you know, what was going to come out the other side. I mean, because we couldn't even really understand if we were playing shows in the future or not. It was just all very strange point in time for rock and roll. So yeah, we were basically getting it out because we felt like we had to, but and I'm sure a bit of it was, I mean, we personally felt a little slighted due to the fact that we didn't get to do a full run with White Bat, you know. Would have been fun, but didn't happen. So yeah, I'm sure we were our feelings were a little hurt there for a bit, but I don't know how much it bled onto the record.
You've released at least 4 songs that I've located ahead of the album's release. Are you the kind of guy that doesn't mind talking about how he got to his lyrics? Or are you one of those guys that think it should be open for interpretation?
I've always been an interpretation guy, but I think with this one, we were all kind of feeling a little bit of angst, perhaps, you know, a little bit of turmoil from the years, and I also had been dealing with a sickness. So yeah, this album in particular was all kind of a fever dream in my eyes. When I look back on it, I don't recall a lot of the process because it was just a kind of a dark time. Most of it's fairly self-explanatory, and if you followed He Is Legend at all in the past, you'll know that my lyrical style is more based in kind of fairy tale clouded metaphor or whatever, but I think there's a little bit of personality and my personal life and just kind of the way that we were all feeling throughout the pandemic that came onto this record.
So would you say that the album title kind of alludes to that endless hallway of our pandemic situation, the endless hallway of the music industry and navigating it, or is there another endless hallway for you?
No, I think that's right. I mean, music has always kind of felt like an endless hallway for us, I would imagine. It's just, you know, when you're in a hallway, you're not really thinking about the place you're in. You're thinking about what's at the end of the hallway, end of the door, the last door. And it seemed like every time we would almost be out of that turmoil, it would, you know, another hallway would be at the end of that. So yeah, it was just a strange point in time, and it's a callback to a lyric from a song on a further back album. So I like to cherry pick from certain things like that. So that was kind of, you know, at the end of the day, we were, yeah, that kind of makes sense. You know, that makes a lot of sense for what we're doing. But yeah, I like to call back to some certain things, and there's a few of those little Easter eggs on this record.
Do you think the fan do you always give the fans sort of that Easter egg thing when you're putting an album together, or do you think with this particular album there's just something special because you're kind of hitting that 10-year mark of
Yeah,
together?
we definitely have. I've always lyrically thrown in a little clues and stuff to other records, and you know, we have themes that have carried on through other records. Um, and I know as far as like, you know, stealing drum lines and little like winks and stuff like that that we'll do just to be silly, you know. But maybe 1 out of 100 people will guess that one thing or pick it out. But that's always fun for us, you know.
Do you think that you have solidified the current lineup of He Is Legend with the guys you're playing with now, Adam and Maddie and Jesse?
Yeah, Jesse's been in the band for the last 2 records now, and he's an integral part to this to the movement that we're in right now. Maddie and Tambuz and I have been in the band since the beginning, so we've you know, we move around with our rhythm guitar players a lot because it's a grueling schedule that we you know, we require. And yeah, Jesse's been in it for the long haul for a while now, so he's very one of my best friends and just an amazing drummer.
You mentioned that you had some health issues. How are you dealing with that? I know I read that you were actually dealing with them while recording this album.
Yeah, I feel like I'm good now, navigating the waters and kind of learning my body as I age. And it was scary for a little while at the beginning of the year, and while we were recording, just, you know, not really knowing what was going on or the totality of what, you know, where I was going to be sick, when I was going to be sick, how long it was going to last. It carried over into the tour we did with Attila in the first 4 or 5 days. I had to kind of get my sea legs on, so to speak. So yeah, it was a trying period, but I feel like I'm on the other side of it now.
Awesome. This is your third record for Spinefarm. How did you originally sign with the label?
We did a crowdfunding um, campaign for our album Few, and that was when we were coming off of Tragic Hero Records and trying to kind of figure out what we wanted to do in the future. And we did all of that ourselves, hiring local artists and working with friends and family that we wanted to, you know, kind of showcase on that. And we budgeted everything out, and it was a rough learning experience. We probably would never do it again, but it taught us a lot, and we raised the money, and we, you know, so we had this campaign. And then when it came down to when the record came out, it was like, okay, well, basically we've only sold as much as the people who pledged for the campaign. So if we want this to be an album that's in stores and have some sort of marketing plan and be able to like pick it up from release day, we had to kind of have and for lack of better words, an investor. And our A&R Darren at Spinefarm has been a friend for a while. We've always kind of wanted to work together. And then when this came out, it was like kind of like, oh well, maybe this is an opportunity. This was very organic. But here we are now on our third record with them.
And you're getting ready to kick off a tour tomorrow, I believe, the History of Middle Earth tour.
Yeah.
Valiant Thor.
Yes.
Mainly in the southern region. Was it difficult kind of getting a footing on the tour routes because everybody's trying to get in there?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It seems like everybody's on the road. There's a shortage of vans and tour buses, and it's just a new world to try to learn how to navigate, especially with so much content out right now and so many people on the road, so many festivals popping up everywhere that we've never heard of. And we're essentially a DIY band. You know, we're self-managed. We pretty much run everything from behind the curtain as far as, you know, the inner workings. When we're not on tour, it gets even more difficult. So yeah, that was different, and we didn't really know if we were going to have any release shows at all. So when this kind of popped up, we've known those dudes in Valiant Thor for a while. They're kind of regional to us, and so it made sense. And short little run before the holidays, everything closes down, as you know. The music industry is pretty null after Thanksgiving, before February. So we had to strike while the iron was hot.
How much of the new material you're planning on playing live?
We're gonna play a couple of we've got a pretty good set that runs the gambit of our career. So it's I think fans will be pleased.
You played the Atlanta Motor Speedway on November 4th. It was sort of a tattoo convention meets wrestling meets rock music. That must have been fun.
Yeah, it was an experience. We've never really played an expo before, or any sort of like conventions, which we've been trying to get our foot into the horror conventions, tattoo conventions, things like that. It's just a different world, and the chance to corner some fans that may or may not see us at a club show late at night. So interesting to say the least, for sure. I mean, we knew a lot of it was Atlanta's only about 6 hours from us, so we knew some tattooers there, and got to watch some wrestling and play a show on a drag strip. What more can you ask for?
Are you from the South? I know wrestling is big in the South, so I'd imagine you're a wrestling fan.
I'm not a wrestling fan, I have to say. I've never, I mean, as far as maybe being a fan when I was in middle school or whatnot, that was something. But I have not followed the art of wrestling in quite a while. So I mean, I can keep an eye on it, and I have friends that are really into it. But it's been a while since I've really gotten into it. I don't even know who's wrestling these days. It's just like, is that Sting? What does he look like these days?
Sting is still wrestling today.
Good for him.
I can see that you're a horror fan, and you were talking about playing the horror conventions and whatnot. Have you attended a horror convention recently? I went to one here in Massachusetts. It was sponsored by Ice Nine Kills, the band. It was actually
cool. Yeah, they're friends of ours, and Spencer's a homie, so shout out to him. Yeah, they've cornered that market, and I think it's really cool. I mean, I have to say I'm quite a little jealous that they're in that vein. Being a kind of horror writer myself, I think it's really cool, and I love seeing them, what they do with that. I've never actually been to a horror con before. I'm always either on the road or on a film set, so I'm like, I never get the opportunities. But hopefully, maybe we can play one in the coming year.
Okay, you said you were either playing music or on a film set. I didn't see any film set stuff in your bio. So what do you do in the industry as far as that's concerned?
I work for the set decoration department, set deck, and I do everything from decorating, set dressing, buying. I've been a purchaser for the last year or so, working basically buying couches and filing cabinets and art and things like that. It's an interesting job, very creative, but they deemed filmmakers essential workers during the pandemic, so I was able to keep my job and be able to stay busy, which was a blessing.
Do you make a lot of connections between the two fields, music and film, as far as either forwarding your film career or your music career?
I certainly make connections, but I don't know that they don't scratch each other's backs. I haven't really. I mean, I've being a rocker. I've been typecast into certain roles, but normally I'm behind the camera doing art department stuff. It's always like, hey, we need a rocker to jump off a bridge, or like something like that. So. But yeah, nothing really other than we did have a He Is Legend poster in the new Scream, very prominent. When you watch the new Scream movie, you can see He Is Legend poster in the bar. It's pretty rad.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Wilmington is they used to call it Hollywood East, and there's a lot of everything from Firestarter and Blue Velvet way back in the day. There's shows like One Tree Hill and Dawson's Creek were both filmed in my hometown, and Eastbound and Down. A lot of film has been here throughout. The Super Mario Brothers movie, the Ninja Turtles movie. I mean, like, we've got some gold that's been captured on these streets. So, and I've been in for since around 2008 or 9. I've been working on sets and doing everything from props, set deck, and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what I moonlight as when I'm not rocker, you know.
I saw that He Is Legend has opened up for Guar, which was actually one of the first bands I interviewed 20 years ago.
Oh wow.
Those guys are crazy outside of the costumes and inside the costumes, I think.
They are, but their work ethic, man, I've never seen anything like it. I recently watched that Guar documentary and I was just, blown away to hear their full story kind of play out. And it brought back all these crazy memories because, we were on tour with them through Canada in the dead of winter near Christmas time. And it was just something crazy to see. They have a 18 wheeler with all their gear in it, with all their monster outfits and whatnot, and just being around it, being up close to it, and never really knowing the extent of Guar's like catalog. And you go in blind, kind of like we did. We just became huge fans immediately. I mean, I was just blown away. One of the best tours I've ever been on.
And over the summer, you guys released a limited vinyl run of your debut album, I Am Hollywood, from 2004. This album's sort of like a collector's item. Do you do this often for the fans to give them like a little something collectible that they can have?
We like to do that when the opportunity arises, but the record label that put out I Am Hollywood is kind of did a clandestine release of the vinyl on the first day of Furnace Fest in 2021. And so we played that day and we found out. We knew a little bit beforehand, but it was just kind of an odd thing. But so when they told us that we could have the opportunity to get some of our own, then we jumped on it and got as many as we could. But yeah, it was a strange thing, as something that I mean, obviously, like, we wanted the fans to be able to get them first, so we just got them, signed them, packaged them, and shipped them off all ourselves, which was, again, not ideal, but it was the only real way we could do it, because those, it was just very selective for just people at the festival to get their hands on it, and people have been wanting that album on vinyl forever. It was never pressed on vinyl ever, so most people, when they found it, they were like, oh, we found it. It's like, yeah, that's probably just a direct to digital copy. It's not actually pressed on the vinyl. So when we got the opportunity, we scooped up as many as we could, and then ran a little campaign for that, and it was cool. Hopefully we can do more of that in the future, getting records that haven't been pressed and put out, because it seemed to go well.
How do you think the band has changed since that first album?
Oh man. I don't exactly know how we've changed, but it's evident that we have. I mean, we've all grown, and we're 20 years older than we were then. So back then, something that might have seemed like a hobby, or something that we didn't know where it was going to go. I think it's a little clearer now what we do and how we tackle certain obstacles and situations. And we're definitely a little more professional than we were back then. We're not yelling from the back of the van, turn around, at the border to Canada, just because we didn't want to go in and then do it and sit for 2 days. Like, we've done a lot of crazy stuff back in our heyday. So now it just, we've calmed down a little bit, but we're still rockers, true and true.
I notice you guys have your own beer collaboration too, with Edward Teach Brewing and Dissolver. It's a fruited goes, or gows, or however the heck they pronounce it.
They say goza, but yeah, it's kind of really beachy, called Beach Goth. It was kind of like a Corona with lime, a little salty, and it was just a cool thing that happened here. Dissolver's from Asheville, which is in the mountains of North Carolina, and Edward teaches from the coast and on the beach. So and we're we're from the beach as well. So here in Wilmington, we just did a collaboration with 2 breweries in the state, which was really cool. I mean, it's something we've always wanted to do. So when the opportunity came out, we were like, "Oh man, we have to do this." We don't make any dough off of it. It was just kind of for, just for to say we did it, and it was really cool. Hopefully, we're gonna do that again sometime soon.
Now you need your own whiskey collaboration, like Motorhead and like
Oh
Guar and like
yeah,
Slipknot.
Metallica. Yeah, I've seen all those. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows what's going to come out of this next year? I got a feeling 2023 will be pretty cool.
Do you work on any other music projects? It seems guys and bands today seem to have a couple different things going.
I really don't. I mean, Legend has been in my life since I was a young man, and I mean, I dabble on my own, but I'm nowhere near. I don't have the chops that I would feel like I could throw out solo material, and at least not yet. And I live a busy life in between, so I'm pretty happy with the way things are right now.
Excellent. Those are all the questions I have for you today. I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with KNAC.com. And the new He Is Legend album comes out on November 11th called Endless Hallway through Spinefarm Records. It sounds great. I wish you the best of
Hey,
luck with it.
thank you so much, and thanks for having me.